And welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your hosts, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Good evening, Daniel.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm in the holiday spirit right now. We're feeling good. You're more festive than myself, but
I even got a little bit of white in the beard.
Oh, there you go. I thought it was green.
No, it's gray.
Green and red,
No. Well, if it was green and red, we wouldn't see it.
Eating the carrots and peas, Why not? Well, I'm feeling festive. We're recording this. This is the week before Christmas weekend.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be a good year this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Hopefully.
now we're starting to do our recap of the year videos.
Yep.
Talking about like resolutions. We're talking about like best games of the year, different things, gaming goals, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're going to be pumping out for the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And it should be good times, I think.
I'm looking forward to it. I always like this kind of stuff. I also like reviewing how our year went, if we met some of our goals. Also making new goals for ourselves.
That's right.
And so that's the big thing I like about this. Is like my favorite time of year, not just because of the Christmas holiday, but for us as a podcast, because we're also rolling into another anniversary part. March would be our, fourth year now?
Yeah, we're going to begin our fourth year.
Yeah, begin our fourth year. So we'll go into like our third year championship, retire a third game to coexist with Gloomhaven and Pandemic Legacy Season 1.
That's right. So we're curious to see how that's going to go out. Pandemic Legacy Season 1 and Gloomhaven are the two that were eliminated so far. Next year, we're going to have a brand new elimination.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I don't know what it's going to be.
And what's quite interesting about it is the game that wins this could possibly get into the top 8 for championship position.
That's right. That's right.
We'll see what happens there.
We might have to do the champion of champions when we fit our 8 years. We have 5 more years. But at that point, I think we should just retire. If we're still doing this 5 more years from now, we might have to stop.
A question for you is, I'm getting Frosthaven in. I don't know if you are or not.
No, I didn't back it.
Oh, you didn't back it. So
I have not played enough Gloomhaven or Jaws of the Lion to justify another, $400 or whatever.
Well, yeah, it was $100 it was like $150 for the Kickstarter. It's going to be like $250 retail.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I justified it because it's what I've been playing. I've been playing a massive amount of Gloomhaven. My statistics actually say that's like one of my highest played games this year.
Yeah.
But my thing is like, is Frosthaven allowed to be on the list if you ever do play it?
Yeah, I mean it's a different game.
Yeah.
It uses the same. It's a sequel,
same system,
sure.
Yeah, but
see, like here's the weird thing. Yeah, I count it as a different game for every intent except for whether it goes on my shelf of shame or not. Like sequels like that, I don't count it.
Yeah.
And like so, unless it's a campaign, which I know it technically is, right?
Yeah.
But not necessarily. You could play any of the scenarios by itself.
Yeah.
And so
it's recommended that you do the campaign so you can get the full stereo thing. But what's to stop you from opening all the boxes and seeing everything? Exactly. So I have no issue with that either. But I just want to play it as the campaign.
For example, I just recently got Ice Cool 2 in the mail. Well, I owned Ice Cool 1.
Yeah.
That's not going on the shelf of shame.
That's because it's legitimately the same game. It's just
more or less, yeah.
And then Jaws of the Lion, I never put on the shelf of shame because it does the same thing.
Right, exactly.
Frosthaven is a possibility I would put it because it does the same thing, but it does changes things up as well. There's a reason why Wayfarers of the South Tigris, it's in a trilogy. It's in the same vein as the other trilogies, the North Trilogy and the West Kingdom trilogy.
But those are all, even in the same trilogies, they're very different games. Yeah.
So Frosthaven, from what I'm hearing, does some of the same stuff, but changes upon it because there's parts of it where you're building up the city of Frosthaven, but you could build equipment, so you can get resources to build equipment and stuff like that. So it's doing different things like that. And excuse my dog.
Well, so here's what I'm going to say. I think it's perfectly fine being on our list and possibly being eliminated. But the thing is, I didn't back it. So whenever we debate it, that'll be up to you, probably.
Yeah.
To actually have me join in on a campaign or something.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I don't know.
We'll see, yeah.
We have enough campaign games
sitting over there that we haven't got into.
That's
well,
right.
Another big thing we decided too, talking with our group, is starting up our campaign games again.
Yes, that's right.
So getting every 5th week or so, we'll play a campaign game.
Yeah, and maybe even like the King's Dilemma game that I
Yeah,
recently got. Although I'm thinking about probably just a different day for that because I want to do it weekly if possible.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you on that one. The only problem is it's hard for us to get together again for 2 days a week.
Yes, exactly.
My wife, I'm lucky enough. My wife allows me to host 1 day a week.
Right. Yeah.
So
I hear you.
without annoying the wives.
Yeah. Wives permitting.
Yeah. Or significant others, because all of us are now in relationships. So
well, not with each other, but like with.
The wife calls you my second wife or the mistress.
Well, it is what it is. I fulfill the board game need, I guess.
Yep, pretty much.
So this week we're going to be talking about. I'm changing that subject fast. This week we're talking about our top 8 games. It's a top 8 debate week about the top games from 2022. Now, as always with our top 8 debates, let's talk about this. We only include the top 8 highest ranked games on Board Game Geek that specifically you and I have both played, because we can't make an argument for it if we have not played them.
Yeah, exactly. And the big thing about it is it's going to be a lot of, yeah, you're right, I guess you're so. That's why we were just talking about Frosthaven. It's because we're unsure if you're going to play that one, if it will get into our top 8 debates, because you're not going to own it, and I'm playing it with my wife, and that's something that we do together.
Exactly. So like I said, it may or may not, but we'll find out. But as of 2022, there are a lot of games. We put a poll up on the Board Game Revolution forum.
Yep.
And we're going to get to theirs here in a minute. But let's talk about what we've been playing lately. Then we'll get into some honorable mentions, both ours and the viewers. And then we'll get into our debate.
Sounds good to me.
So, Daniel, what have you been playing lately?
So, the first game I'm going to talk about is what we ended up playing last Wednesday. Right after our last recording, we ended up doing our normal game night on Wednesday. And this was your pick week. And this was my favorite of the 3 games that we played that night. And this one was... what's the...
So good.
No. I know the name of it. I'm just trying to... what is the Donald X Machina that people record? Dominion dice game. It's Dominion the dice game. It's Dice Realms. It's so good. I actually like it more than I do Dominion. Mm-hmm. I love to be like, okay, well, if I could do this, what's the point of just going to the second level? I have all these upgrades. That's all I've been rolling. Let me just go max out something all the way up to the 3rd level.
Right.
And so that's what I ended up doing, and it was so fun. I liked it went fast, and we were yelling at each other.
Fast.
We were yelling at each other for rolling the bad die. Why would you roll that? I don't know. It's all bad.
Yeah, no, every person who rolled the winter, we blame you.
Exactly.
Stop making us feed our people.
It was the big joke at there was thanks Uwe, because he's the one that started the feed your people aspect of it, and so everybody's got to feed their people now. But no, it was really, really fun. I really, really enjoyed that one. So much so, it was literally my favorite game of the night. I wouldn't say the prettiest game on the list, but the ugliest game that we played last week. But it was so fun. Yep. And it's so quick, because we were just sitting there listening to you read us the rules and explain how this works and this works, and we're like, wait, what? And then about, 2 minutes into the game, once we figured out all the rolling and upgrading, get your points. Got you. And then it went, I would say, 30 minutes.
Yeah,
it was super quick. It was
we all play at the same time, more or less.
We played the 2-player game.
Yeah.
We played 2 3-player games, and this one was the fastest of the 3 games we played.
Yes. Easily.
And that's saying something, because we also played a 2-player game.
Right. Actually, it was pretty close to the 2-player game, but it sure felt faster.
Yeah. And the fact that we were having a lot of fun, joking around.
Yep.
And all it is dice rolling.
Yep.
There's very little artwork on the cards that allows you to get certain pips. Everything else is just dice rolling.
Yep.
This game is ugly as sin. It's pretty for what it is.
The cover is nice.
Well, the cover's nice. The game is pretty-ish for what it is, but it's just dice pips. So there is you're just literally rolling 6-sided dice.
Yep.
You're playing Yahtzee without face pips.
Yep. Yep, pretty much. Yeah, it doesn't need much more than that. Yeah, I this is a good pick. I mean, because you and I discussed this briefly right before, which games we were picking beforehand.
Yeah.
At least from that game night. And I knew you wanted to talk about this one, so I picked the other one. But yeah.
Did we pick the 2-player? Did either one of us pick the 2-player
No.
game?
No, because I had one specifically I wanted to talk about.
Okay,
other than the
so
ones.
just a shout out, the 2-player game we're talking about is Tron Bomb. It's a Tron Bomb, whatever. It's a train card game where it was fine. It was
very
there's
simple.
nothing special about it.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, I would rate it a 6, 5, 6. It's
I like what it did, but yeah, it wasn't like, I'm not gonna write home about it like Dice Realms.
Yeah.
But this other one that we played, let me tell you, our viewers, about it. Marco Polo 2. We finally got a chance to get that to the table. That's been like a really well-regarded, heavy-ish Euro. Like, I guess some people would say it's medium, but they're crazy. It's a pretty heavy Euro.
Yeah, it's
had a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. I remember when you were teaching us this, we were just like...
Yeah, it's not that often that like me myself, I know when you guys are teaching, I will phase out like and do that.
Yeah, we phased out too.
Yeah, but it's very rare that you guys both collectively phase out like that.
We started talking World Cup.
Exactly. I'm like, all right. But then once we got rolling, so it's a dice worker placement game. A lot of the spots are variable and have different kinds of manipulation on it. But you set out some dice on one of the spots. You do whatever action it is. Potentially getting resources.
Trying to get new dice.
Yep. Or getting new dice. Those resources will normally let you get other resources and victory points along with it in forms of
contracting.
Yep. But then you have all sorts of different things there where you're moving around, trying to get not area control, but you're trying to visit different parts of the map. Mm-hmm. What makes this game really unique is, first off, those contracts are really kind of neat.
Yeah.
Like they're strange too. Like it'll say, oh, turn in 2 camels, 2 spice bags, and a gold bar, and you're gonna get like 5 points. You get to move once, and then you also get 2 camels back. It's like, what? Huh? Okay, but yeah, it's a thing, so you can kind of combo them together. How you're manipulating those.
How's it going, Tabletop Bellhop?
Hey, Tabletop Bellhop. But everything it did, every spot that you could put something, those extra contracts, being able to go onto the different routes, the starting abilities were all very different. Everyone had their own incredibly unique ability. Then you each had your own goals of where you're trying to go. And I'm always hesitant with games that do that because then it feels like it almost pushes you in a way. But no, we were very much like manipulating around each other as best as we can. it would end up being a much closer game than I was expecting.
And the thing is, we were teasing our friend Dom
yes.
the whole time because we played Lewis and Clark one time, and we told you the story before, where he went all the way back to basically New Orleans and still beat us. No. And the thing is, like the first 3 or 4 turns, he had not moved out of Beijing. He just grabbed his resources, did all his stuff, and I was telling him, I'm like, it's New Orleans again. He's doing it again, Daddy.
You heard it here. Beijing is the New Orleans of China.
It was happening to us again. I think you ended up winning that one.
It was close.
It was very close. It was close for them too. I was just like minding my own business, getting fat on all the camels and supplies because I was a con. I was like passing checkpoint.
Right, you were definitely a resource manipulator. That was your big thing. Mine was
my favorite
contract fulfillment. That was my big thing.
Whereas, like, it was one whole round. I'm like, boop, 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 okay, I'm done. And then I walked and talked to my wife and let you guys play out the rest of the round.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because when you finish early, you have to wait till everyone else uses their actions.
Yeah.
And you used up, I think, all 5 of your dice in one turn.
I needed to get a couple resources. I think it was camels. I had to use my dice to get enough camels for the fulfill contract, but I also needed them to move like 4 different places. This way I can go through, because I still have to, even though I can skip a spot, it's like the trading post or something like that in between cities.
Oh, yeah.
I still have to pay the road, and so I'm like, you know what, I need to get over here if I can tag these, because I have this special card where I need to get the cities, my houses in these cities for the points at the end of the game.
Yep.
So I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to hightail it over there. I spent all 5 of my dice, moved 3 locations, put 2 houses up, got 1 reward, and I'm like, that was a good turn. I'm done. I'm late.
Yep. Yeah, your round consisted of a turn.
A turn, but it was amazing.
It was an
turn.
epic turn.
Because my ability also, when I go through those checkpoints, is I get victory points. And I went through 2 checkpoints. I got 6 victory points off that, 7 victory points off finishing a contract, and putting myself in locations. So.
Yeah.
And not only that, I got resources because I got to put 2 houses out and got 2 resources to be the first one there.
Yeah, exactly. It was interesting to see how, like, even though, like, some people were using their dice a lot more sparingly, specifically our friend Dom. Like, I was in the middle. You were just throwing dice at everything. You were speeding through it. We still all did pretty close.
Fairly, yeah. I think there was like a 6-point difference or 2-point difference between you and Dom.
Yeah.
And then I was further back. I was about 15 points, but that's because I got all my points in the beginning and then I kind of petered off.
Yeah, exactly. You had no way to.
I had no way to keep going because I got all my stuff like going early because my guy was all about going through those checkpoints. But yeah, no, I really, really thoroughly enjoyed this one. This was my second favorite of that night. Yeah,
I mean, out of the 3. Yeah, but no, I mean, like, not even just, like, I don't want to seem like it's middle of the road, too. Yeah. It was, that was up there. I am very happy I had this, and I finally got to play it.
The only problem with this one is because we had played Dice Realms beforehand. That gave me a lot of Euro itching, the scratchings, and so I got that brain burner there, and then I was like, oh, wait, now I have to think more.
And this was our last game of the night.
And it was like... 8:30 or so when we were about 8 o'clock when you were teaching it. It was about 8:30 when we started.
It was earlier than that. It was
no, it wasn't because we finished at 10, so it was only an hour and a half game. So we had to start the game exactly at 8:30, or roughly. But something it was like 8 o'clock when you were teaching it.
Yeah. Yeah, the teach almost was longer than the
game.
The
teach was long, but mind you, it's because we kept getting distracted, and then my wife distracted us a couple times, and then we were teasing you.
Standard.
Standard.
Yeah, no, Marco Polo 2, Legacy of the Con, or something like, or on his con service. I forget what the subtitle
the whole title. It's Marco Polo 2.
Marco Polo 2, fantastic,
and honestly,
phenomenal game.
From what I heard, it's the same as Marco Polo 1. It's just that it's a reprint, plus it added a lot of the expansion stuff,
so when you, like, for example, when you get to the... I think when you get to locations first, how you get that extra bonus, that's like expansion stuff. And there's a bunch of other things. Yeah.
And so that's the main thing. So get that one if you're going to find it. I recommend it. It's really good. It's, again, that's something I need to put into my collection because it's not going to go well with my other group, but it's going to go well in our group.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, it's legitimately good.
Yeah, I think it's still in the Board Game Geek Top 100, maybe?
It might be. Yeah. So the next game I'm going to talk about, this was when I did that whole big group a couple weeks back. We had the non-gamer.
Yes.
This one is Fantasy Realms. I figured this would be another good, quick, easy teach to teach her. And my buddy had to go get food, so I was like, you know what, let's just grab this, and then we'll go into this heavier game. And it was so, so good. And I really do enjoy Fantasy Realm. I don't know which one I like more, Marvel Remix, which does some really cool stuff, or Fantasy Realm, because I actually like both. But this was an easy one to teach, and she really enjoyed it. And it was like, okay, all you got to do is you're trying to score your cards, you're trying to pair them out properly. So what comes up over here, you can draw one card, you got to disc one card, and you're trying just whatever your hand is dealt, you're trying to score all 7 of those. You want to try to get out the bad stuff that will blank some of your cards and make it useless to you. Get some stuff in that will work everything at double points. Real simple, really quick, nice little filler game. It took us maybe 10 minutes. So, like, we started playing when he left for the food, and he came back with the food we had just finished up, and I was scoring everybody out.
Nice. So
good. Tabletop Bellhop says he wants to try the Marvel version one. I really like what the Marvel version one is doing. Because you have to have a villain in there. You have to have at least one villain and one hero, sidekick, or there's one other thing that you have to get it, or you score 0 points. And
you have to have a storyline, and it only makes sense with comics.
And so most of the villains are negative points, but there's some of them that are like, hey, if you have 3 mutants in, your sentinels are going to pop off for like 30 points. So, so you need to make sure you have mutants in your hand. And so, but there's a shared discard pile. There's 2 decks. You draw a villain deck or you draw from the remix deck. but it's a shared discard pile. So even when it hits once it hits the 10th card, you score out.
Okay.
So it's like it's that nice little tightrope walk where you're like, I don't like this villain. Maybe I can get something new, different, come up, that'll work better. And it's just it's a little tightrope walk because again, it's a shared 10 card discard.
Yeah.
So Fantasy Realms.
Yeah, good pick. I need to buy a copy of that. I actually really enjoyed it. We sell Marvel Remix at our shop, but I don't like Marvel enough. I wanted to get the Star Trek one, but I've heard it's questionable.
Yeah, I heard it's questionable. I want to get it just to have all 3 copies because this way I just have like, hey, you like Star Trek? Let's try this one. If you like Marvel, here's this. If you like generic fantasy or not those other 2, then try this one.
Right, because I like generic fantasy.
And then we have Red Rising. I have Red Rising that's kind of inspired by it too.
True. Yep.
So.
Yeah, most certainly. Cool. The last game I wanted to talk about real quick that I've been playing lately, I brought it to the shop, knowing that it needs a bigger group to play, and I got a group of a total of 6 of us to play, and it was nice and slow that week. So I'm like, all right, I can actually sit down and join in because I was just gonna show it off normal. This is one of the Stephen Rhodes games, and this is called Let's Call the Exorcist.
Is this the box one that you keep bringing up?
This was the one that takes 4 to 8 players.
Okay, yeah.
There is social deduction in it.
That one, yeah.
And so I know, yeah, your face says it all, right? So I'm going to tell you on how it does social deduction quite a bit differently.
Okay.
And how it's probably the most interactive social deduction game I've ever played. Okay. Hands down. It's one of the most interactive ones. So we played 6 players. The goal is to be the first player to 7 points, or have the most points when somebody has 7 at the end of a round. Every round, someone's dealt out a random roll that you're no longer allowed to look at after you see it. So you're either going to be one of the in that game there was 2 possessed, which are basically like the traders, generic traders.
Yeah.
And there's 4 innocent.
Okay.
So you look at your roll that's randomly picked, and you set it face out, and you're never allowed to look at it again unless a card tells you otherwise.
Okay.
There are 4 types of cards. There are holy artifacts, cursed artifacts, and mischief and mischief and blessings.
Okay.
Mischief and blessings are just effects that happen, whereas the artifacts, that's what everyone's looking for. So, for example, if I'm one of the innocent players, if all 6 in a 6-player game, holy artifacts come up, then all the innocent players are going to get 2 points, bonus points at the end of the round.
Okay.
However, there's only 2 cursed items, and if both of those come up, then the possessed characters get 2 points instead. So it's not really like you're trying to figure people out. Yes, you are, kind of.
Okay.
But really, at the same time, you're just trying to get the right items out. And so you could be honest in this and still mess with people. And so here's how you do it. This is what makes it different. Is that you shuffle up those cards in the 6-player game, 6 holy artifacts, 2 cursed items, and then a few other, 16 blessings and or mischief.
Okay.
Shuffle them all up, deal 4 to every player. You look at your hand, and you're allowed to talk about your hand however you want. Okay. You can make up stuff. You could say, nobody come towards my hand. It's, you can bluff, you can lie, you can do whatever you want, right? But then, you're going to mix up your cards and put them face down in front of you. And then, one person becomes the seeker, or the chooser, the other person becomes the seeker. Okay. Or the chosen, I'm sorry, the seeker and the chosen. So if I'm the seeker, I pick one other player, and I flip over one of their cards. So if you're the chosen, I'll flip over one of your cards, and then the effect affects us somehow. Which might be like, oh, well, the Seeker gets to choose another person to be a Seeker. Or, both the Seeker and the Chosen get a point. Or, it might be a Holy Artifact, or a Cursed Artifact, However that works. But then as soon as after I pick you, then you get to pick somebody else's card. And that goes until there is a number of face-up cards equal to the number of players, or, again, all those artifacts are found. What makes it so interesting is that, obviously, if I'm innocent, I don't want people to pick it if I have a cursed item in my hand, right? So, the first instinct is you would say, oh, yeah, don't pick my stuff, it's bad. But the possessed are hearing this, and they're going to remember that. Because then now they're going to be like, Oh, okay. Well, they're that bad, huh? All right, here we go. And hope to get the cursed items because it's so much easier for them. And being on one of the sides or not doesn't determine the game. It just determines who gets the bonus points at the end of the round.
Okay.
Which is really intriguing. A lot of them are just standard Steven Rhodes shenanigans. Like there is one of my favorites is that the Seeker and another player take their roll tiles, shuffle them up, and deal them randomly, and only the Seeker gets to relook at theirs. So the Chosen doesn't know what they are now. So your roll might change mid-game, and you don't know. And there's different items that'll let you manipulate that. There's different things that'll let you manipulate the cards that are on the board. Having just those discussions of just going, all right, guys, like, mine's pretty good. Come get this stuff because you're going to need it. Like, yeah, the Innocent is going to go for that, assuming you're honest. And there was one time where one of my hands, it was 4 cards, I had 3 holy items and a mischief card. The mischief are generally bad, right?
Yeah.
I mix them up. I'm like, guys, I have all the holy items. Like, I have 3 of the 6. Like, come get them. And so they're like, all right, great. And they pulled up the one mischief card instead of any of the other 3 holy artifacts. And so everyone just immediately was like,
Yeah, sounds about
I don't know about this anymore. I'm like, no, seriously. I have like all the other good ones, and they're constant shifty eyes. Though that discussion in between all of the rounds, makes it so much better than a lot of social deduction games.
Yeah, you still haven't sold me on it.
I know. I don't think I will, but I was genuinely impressed. This is now my number 2 favorite Steven Rhodes game, and I've played 5 of the 6.
Let Summon Demons still your number 1, or Let's Dig for Treasure?
Let Summon Demons is number 1.
Okay. And
this is number 2 now because it was just a riot of a good time. It was so fun. I am very glad I own this. Cryptozoology was a little questionable. The Talk to Strangers was questionable, and I haven't played that other one yet. So
that's the what do you call it? 7 box or it's the one with the dice in.
It's a version of Shut the Box.
Shut the Box. There we go.
Yeah. Forget what it's called though. Living Well is the Best Revenge.
Okay.
That's the name of that one. So hopefully I'll play that soon, and I'll be able to talk to it on the next podcast.
All right. So you ready for the top 8 debate?
Yeah, let's talk about our honorable mentions for this year. We kind of touched base already on it, like what is our best games of the year. So I think it's
that one specifically. When we talked about our favorite games that we played this year, those were just what was new to us.
That's true, exactly. So let's talk about our favorite 3 games that are brand new 2022.
Published 2022.
That's right. So let us begin. I'll start us off. The first one I want to talk about was a 3-player or mini version of Spirit Island. This is Horizons of Spirit Island, which I know is already an honorable mention as one of the votes. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I want Spirit Island now. It was really good. I can't describe how awesome it is. Spirit Island, I think, is like somewhere between $80 to $100, like retail. This is $30 at Target. Sure, the pieces are all cardboard punch board and stuff, but it's pretty decent components, actually pretty well. Really fun game. If you know Spirit Island, there's no reason not to get this because you can use those spirits in the base game, and it's fantastic. Me and my son had an absolute blast. That is probably now his new favorite game, if not like his second favorite. And he's slowly turning into a gamer.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
Getting him away from the videos and putting him into the cardboard.
That's right. Slowly but surely. As long as he games some way, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
So that's my my first one I want to talk about, Horizons of Spirit Island.
All right, so I had a short list. I had 5 games on my list. I got narrowed down to the 3 that we always do.
Okay.
And so for me, this is the top 3 that out of 2022 that I liked.
Yes.
The first one is one we just recently played not too long ago, a couple weeks, and that is Skate Summer by Pandasaurus Game. I really, really enjoyed this one. So much so that we were doing like a Secret Santa a gift exchange in our group. It went on my list.
Yep, sure was.
So I really, really enjoyed this one. It's so good. I love the 2 parts of it. Sometimes when games are in 2 parts, the first one is usually really good, or the second one is really good. They're not really good both ways. This one, Actually, both parts of the game are really good. You're doing your tricks. You're trying to balance doing that little push your luck aspect of it.
Right.
Really, really good. And then the cards that you used help you move around the board, and you're trying to collect different things that gives you bonuses. That meaning your tricks can land a little bit better, or you don't. You can ignore some of the the dice rolling aspect of the push your luck aspect. Because you roll so many dice based on how many cards that have been played. So if you're in the 4th round of playing cards out, you're rolling 4 dice, and that's what's moving your board one way or the other. Mm-hmm. It was so good. I do have one gripe with this game, and and it's a lot of people's gripe with this game, is that board is you can't see anything.
Yeah,
it is really so dirty. Busy.
Yeah, it's messy.
It is so busy. It's ridiculous. It's like, okay, wait. Oh, okay, this is a spot. This is a spot. Now, is that blue or is that red? I can't really tell because there's just all sorts of stuff on it. But yeah, Skate Summer, phenomenal game. Pandasaurus, they need to get their house in check, but the games are solid that they've been putting out. So for me, that was my 3rd favorite game of the year. It was Skate Summer.
Do you want to keep this pattern going? Just to run through it?
Yeah.
All right, my 2nd favorite game of this year, Rear Window. I played it after watching the movie.
I thought this was going to be your first.
It was on the fence. This other one was really, really shot up for me, but Rear Window, every time I played it, I love the idea that it's either one versus all or fully cooperative, but you don't know that throughout. Only the one player knows which one it's going to be. It's brilliant. It works really well. A lot of the cards
This is Funko, correct?
This is Funko, yep. A lot of the cards it's almost like a Mysterium kind of game.
Yeah.
But they're not surreal. It's like sometimes they're silhouettes and sometimes just scenery.
Yeah.
And all of the cards have kind of like this ongoing pattern where they'll have like 2 or 3 aspects of it that like allude to certain characters or whatever. So it can go either way, and that leads to some cool discussion. I was afraid that it would be too on the nose. But no, it's gone over really well every time. It's like $35, amazing components, cool theme. The movie's awesome. Since I just watched it this year, love it.
It's always been great.
Yeah, it's so cool. So Rear Window.
All right, moving to my number 2 for me, and this one is a Phil Walker Harding game that came out this year, and the reason why it made on this list is because it's memorable to me. Is that I bought it, you bought it for us, you went to Target, everybody bought it. The game is Planted by Phil, Game of Nature and Nurture, I think is the full title. Mm-hmm. Nice little drafting game, great resources for, what, $30?
Oh,
phenomenal.
Yeah,
I mean, we ended up paying $15 for this game because we did the...
Something like that.
It was during the buy 2, get 1 free, and so you ended up buying 3 copies of this, so I paid $15, you paid $15, our buddy paid $15 out of it. And the reason why it's so memorable for me is because I played it a few times, and it's always recommended, like, my wife was like, hey, why don't we bust out the Plant game? My wife is not a big gamer. So there's a few games that she wants to play. She's willing to do it in my other game group because it's a married couple, and I'm the game guru there. I don't know how that happened. But, yeah, no.
They raised you well.
But every time, like, it's like, hey, we have an easy game night that I have to take over some games for people that are not familiar. That 5-player group was with this one as well. And it's so nice. It's a very calming game. All you're doing is you're drafting either resources or tools or decorations to help you. You play 4 rounds of it. You try to grow your plants as best as possible because that's how you're going to get most of your points. Even if you have leftover resources at the end of the round, you can use 2 resources to propagate, and that just gives you a victory point at the end of the round. Most points at the end of the game wins. And it's played quickly because what you do is you draft your card, put it down in front of you, move your next one, everybody plays their card, and you have 2 options with that card. Play it out as a tool or resource or decoration, or you can use the number on the card to go get a new plant for you to start growing another plant to get more points. And the lower number gets the first plant. And it's very simple. It's one of the easiest games I can teach.
Yeah.
And it's next step Sushi Go, I guess you can say, because Sushi Go is pretty easy, but it's also got a theme a lot more people are going to like, because a lot of people like plants, apparently. My whole second bedroom is full of plants, let me tell you. And so when we bought it, my wife's like, you're taking that over to our friend's house to play? And I'm like, I guess I am now. Because it hadn't even opened it yet. It was just sitting on the table because you just gave it to me, and we were supposed to go that weekend to our friend's house, and she's like, "You're taking that one, right?" And I'm like, yes, I am.
Well, just so you know.
And so that's my second favorite game, Planted.
All right, and my number one favorite game this year, I've belabored it a lot of times. Is keeps like I haven't played it more than the one time, but yet I'm getting more and more antsy to play it now. Trekking Through History.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's fantastic. That first initial play is leaving me wanting more. I'm running it through in my head, like different things I could have done differently. All the cards that are on it. It's one of those games that actually made me want to learn because I flipped over the card and I started reading about it. So I was like, wait, what is this? Like, let me.
Yeah, I still want to play that game.
It's so good. I need to bring it. It's absolutely fantastic. I can't encourage it more than enough. Trekking Through History. If you have a chance to play it, play it.
And that's funny because I played Trekking Through the national parks.
Yep.
I haven't played Trekking Through the World, but you said there's no difference between the two other than
one's
a little
bit
some
minor
bigger.
details. Yeah. A little bit of difference, but really not much.
Yeah, but when you describe Trekking Through History, I'm like, I was fine with Trekking Through the national parks. It's just it's a simple Ticket to Ride style game.
Yep.
A very simple Ticket to Ride style game.
This is a very different game.
And then I saw the summer spectacular or the winter spectacular where they were talking about it. I was like, okay, let me just watch a couple rounds of this, see how it is, and then I watched them play it, and I was like, well, now I really want to play that.
Right.
I'm sad that I didn't back it because I was a history major growing up. So
Tabletop Bellhop, we're getting a live announcement right here. $11 off coupon right now on Amazon through Tabletop Gaming Deal. So viewers who are watching this live, if you have a chance, go check out Tabletop Bellhop's
Twitter,
or their website,
Tabletop Bellhop,
and check out a link to that because honestly, I can't recommend it enough. It's really good, and it's Amazon, so you might get it in time for Christmas if you order it right now.
No, you won't.
But you could, for the loved one of yours who has forgotten to give you a gift, you can order it and place it under their card, and then so when you get it, it'll still.
Oh, really? Free delivery by Saturday, December 24th.
Order within the next 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, where we live, I highly doubt that.
Yeah, well. We're an exception.
We're an exception.
Either way, it's awesome.
Well, once we get the Amazon location out in El Paso, it'd be better.
Yes.
But my favorite game of the year...
Let's shift to this right. Yeah. That's fair.
My favorite game of the year this year, no surprise, I've talked about it a couple times. It's a campaign game with acrylic miniatures. This is Vagrant Song.
Vagrant Song.
I really, really love everything about this game. I love the dice rolling because you can get the booming, they call it booming boxcars. So if you roll a 6, it just keeps exploding. And so it's exploding dice. I've always loved the exploding dice mechanic. I love the storytelling in this one. I've played through 2 scenarios so far. The story about what it's telling about, and I don't want to give spoilers, is so good. I love the fact that that you can, even if you get knocked out, you can still compete because you get knocked westbound. You get more powerful, but you need to actually become human again for you to keep moving on.
Yeah.
And it's until all characters become westbound, you lose. So if one of us is westbound, we just fight and fight and fight. And if you accrue enough coins, you can cure some of your wounds that you have after you're going westbound. So you're going to have to take a wound. Which means you're going to lose that thing unless you heal up. So, and then there's like a nice little checkpoint where it's like, all right, this is where you're saving. Just make sure you remember all this, and then you're good to go in the next one. Like I said, the story is phenomenal. The art is great. I love those old-timey cartoon looks. Like Cuphead has a really nice motif.
Oh, yeah.
Vagrant Song does it a lot better, yeah. So I love that stuff. It reminds me of Steamboat Willie.
Oh, yeah.
And so I love that kind of cartoon stuff. Like, there was the one cartoon back in the day when I was younger that scared me. It was like the Bones when they were playing like the xylophone off of skeletons and stuff like that. And so this is what it kind of reminds me of because they're the Haints minis are grotesque.
Yeah.
They some of them are grotesque. Some of them are not bad. But they, like, once you read the backstory of some of these, so like the very first one, when you read the backstory about them, you're like, Oh, that is creepy.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're basically just fighting to give them their humanity, and you do it in logical ways by beating them up.
Of course.
I love the hobo code. So the worst possible scenario, if you can't come to agreement, must be taken.
Yep.
And so I love everything about it. Vagrant Song has been phenomenal, and I can't wait to play more. And my only gripe about this one is that it's campaign only. So I wish they would just, give us stuff for scenario based where I could just pick up and play this and be done.
Yeah.
I don't have to keep playing campaign wise.
Makes sense. Cool. Yeah, the other ones that I thought about putting on the list were Splendor Duel and Ready Set Bet.
The other two that I was thinking about putting on here is Tenpenny Park and Creature Comforts.
Cool. Awesome. Well, let's get into the honorable mentions from our viewers. We posted this on the Board Game Revolution group on Facebook. And Tabletop Bellhop said, unfortunately, you have not played any of these 2022 games. Hopefully you will, though. I mean, I do encourage trekking through history if that's your style. Check out how it's played, but let's see which ones were added on. Jackie added Carnegie.
That's a heavy Euro game. I know it was out. I haven't played it yet.
Or Carnegie, I've heard it's also.
No.
Carnegie,
but it's Carnegie. Because it's based off, I think, Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
The next one added by Brant, and this is Frosthaven. And that's because East Coast could only has Frosthaven right now. West Coast has just started their deliveries.
Yep. Doug added Resurgence, which I know nothing about.
I don't know nothing about that one. Nope. Jason added Allsworn, and I haven't played it. I've heard about it, and those minis are something else, let me tell you.
Right, it looks good. Doug also added, which thank you, Horizons of Spirit Island. That's right.
Edward added Wayfarers of the South Tigris. I have it on my shelf of shame. I haven't even read the rules. When I was punching out the game and looking at those game boards, I'm like, oh dear God.
Oh no.
But then I watched a playthrough of it or something like that. It doesn't seem super hard, but there's a lot of moving parts. They equate this to Paladins of the West Kingdom, heavy-wise.
Yeah, that's fun. Omar added ISS Vanguard.
Haven't played it yet, but I'm thinking we're going to end up playing this relatively soon. We have a friend who backed it.
Ooh, okay.
The one who always backs it.
Yes. The one who has always backed all of it.
Sean added Hamlet. I haven't even heard of that one.
Yeah, I have. It looks cool.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's not based off of the play. It's based off of the city of Hamlet.
Yeah, I kind of figured, yeah.
Well, you never know. I'm just throwing that out there for anybody else who hadn't heard about it either, but that's what it is.
When I think board game, I don't think Shakespeare. I think Hamlet, it's a city building or something.
Yeah, probably, right. Peter said, Shane added Oak.
Now, Oak, I haven't played. We both saw it, and it looks pretty.
Yeah,
we saw it at Gamma this year.
Mm-hmm.
Peter added Orichalcum, and I want this one.
I'm glad you said it, because I can't say that. Orichalcum?
Orichalcum.
Okay. Andy added Lands of Galzir.
Honestly, I've only recently heard about that one.
I saw a suggestion for you on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we play it, and there's 60 views. I was like, oh, why is this suggested to me? I've never heard of this game.
Next up here, Andy added Age of Atlantis, another one I just recently heard about. It looks interesting. Other than that, I'm not too familiar with it.
All right. Alice added Heat, Pedal to the Metal, the new Days of Wonder game.
I want this one so bad. I watched a playthrough of it. I saw a playthrough of it. I saw how it looks.
Yep.
And I want it, but I still have to play my dog racing game.
Fair enough.
Next up is added by Sarah, and this is Flamecraft. Another one that I'm sad I missed the Kickstarter. I do want to try this one. I've been tempted to buy it, but haven't done it yet.
Yeah, it's sold out just about anywhere you go.
Yeah.
Add Napoleon.
Mm-hmm.
Added John Company 2E.
Second edition of John Company. I've never even heard of the first edition, so...
Yeah.
John added Aeon Trespass Odyssey. I haven't played any other Aeon endgames, so I wouldn't know anything about it. And Tabletop Bellhop is saying John Company is a big game.
Yeah. Different John added Marvel Dice Throne, which, yes, I completely agree.
And I forgot to turn my phone on silent. I turned my family on mute, but I forgot to turn my phone on silent.
His wife wasn't happy about it when he turned her on mute.
John also added Hoplomachus Victorum. This is a Roman game, if I remember correctly. I've seen it. I haven't really looked into it.
Okay. Alex added Vagrant Song, so there you go.
Yeah, that's a really good game. And finally, Barry added Tiletum. Tabletop Bellhod said his top 3 this year was Aldabas Doors of Cartagena Tales, Doors of Cartagena, Tales from the Loop, the board game, and Founders of Teotihuacan.
Yep. And now there's some comments as well, explaining why that. Matt asked, do reprints count? What do you think? I mean,
I wouldn't say no.
If it's enough to have a different listing on Board Game Geek, I suppose, if there's that big of a change. But if it's literally like the second version of this, then maybe not.
Well, it's kind of like, for me, it's Fury of Dracula 3rd edition and 4th edition. They're the same game, it's just different companies printing them.
Right, exactly.
Shannon added Planet Unknown is not officially released until the retail version is on the shelf in Australia. Oh, so yeah, it's actually my copy is retail, so
yeah,
it is.
But we're not in Australia.
Yeah, we're not in Australia,
so I guess according to Shannon, it's not a release yet.
In Australia, it isn't.
Right. Shane said has to be Wayfarers, though there are some of these that are scheduled to be played over the holidays. A very tough choice, but the entire flow of Wayfarers just makes me want to go back to it over and over again.
And that's when you know it's a good game, if it got you hooked like that.
Right.
We were just mentioning it, Trekking, that you want to go back to it because you keep thinking about it.
100%.
Randy says, haven't played Frosthaven, Oathsworn, or ISS Vanguard yet, but I fully expect one to take my spot. Of what I played, Wonderland Wars has good gameplay, great components, and a fun player interaction.
And Jackie replied, Carnegie gets my pick. Yes, it looks like a typical beige Euro. Yes,
your style.
My style. But it's really thinky. There's a healthy dose of player interaction, and a combination of mechanisms just feels different than the other games.
If I can count games that are not in people's hands, yet I would include Hellbringer and Pocketbook Adventures, and this is coming from Tabletop Bellhop.
Very cool.
Those sound interesting, especially Hellbringer.
Yeah.
That's is that a Mystic game or Mythic?
I don't know. I don't own any Mythic games. So.
I don't either.
No, I'm not cool enough. All right, cool. Let's get into our top 8 debate. We picked the top 8 highest ranked games that you and I have both played on BoardGameGeek.com. Yep. And those include Wonderland War, our number 1 seed.
Going up against our 8 seed Verdant.
Our number 2 seed, Return to Dark Tower.
Going up against our number 7 seed, First Rat.
Our number 3 seed, Endless Winter.
Going up against our number 6 seed, Guilds of Merchant Explorers.
And our number 4 seed, Planet Unknown.
Going up against our number 5 seed, Foundations of Rome. What I was laughing about is I'm looking at these games in like 1 and 8. Kickstarter, beautiful game versus a little game that just came out with cards.
Yep.
Same with the 2nd and 7th round.
Yeah.
Same with the 3rd and the 4th round. Mm-hmm. And then the 4th and 5th round is like, nope, all Kickstarter now.
Yep, all Kickstarter from now on out.
So 4 and 5 are going to be our hardest production.
Hellbringer is a Diablo-based card game.
That sounds pretty cool. I haven't played a Diablo game since... I want to say the PlayStation 3, so Diablo 3, I think that was the most recent one, but I haven't played any of the upgraded versions of it that they've put out, so...
Yeah.
That'd be cool to play it in the board game form.
That's right.
You want to tell them how we do things?
That's right. We have 5 different criteria that we rank each of these on, that we argue. The first of which is ease of play. That's how simple and familiar the mechanisms are, the likelihood of getting it to the table, whether that's the mechanism or the theme, and a knock to it, we penalize you if the game has analysis paralysis or is prone to analysis paralysis. Now, granted, most of them is up to the player, but if the game alludes to that, then that's kind of a knock because it makes it less easy to play.
Marco Polo, when we were talking about it, that could lead, especially towards the end, all 3 of us were like...
Yep. Yeah, but that wouldn't have won in any category of ease of play. No, it wouldn't have.
All right, the next category is replay value. This is the length of time or scaling well. So, are you getting the same experience between 2 players and 4 players, or is it exorbitant long time. And looking at these games, we're going to have a lot of argument about that.
Yep.
I think there's one that plays very quickly.
Yes.
Minimum number of plays for the full experience. This means it like chess. If you play one time, you kind of know how to play it. You just don't know how to master it.
Right.
Whereas there's stuff like campaign games where you haven't seen everything or given the full experience. So that's what we mean about minimum number of plays.
Or just divergent like strategies.
Exactly.
If I weigh heavy on this side, do I have abilities to change my gameplay next time?
Happy holidays, Illuminous.
Hey, Illuminous.
And finally, expandability. Is there already expansions? Up to 1 possible future expansions, or confirmed by the designer or publisher.
Cool. The next category is meaningful choice. This specifically talks about the strategy and the tactics that you use in the game. Impact on other players' strategy is the first sub-criteria. How well can you affect other players' gameplay? Mm-hmm. Impact on a player's long-term strategy. How well can you pre-plan what you do now will affect your future moves? And again, another knock on it, if you have arbitrary choices. Either all of your choices are too good, or all of them are some of them are not good enough. Mm-hmm. Are you picking at random to make your move? That takes away from the meaningful choice in the game.
Yes. And the fourth criteria for us is game immersion. The way we do this is, does the game fit the category best, or does the theme match the mechanism? This one, we're probably going to have to go more the theme mechanism, because the category is 2022. So, case in point, like if we're talking about Foundations of Rome, does it feel like you're building the city of Rome? Yeah. Or Wonderland Wars, does it feel like a war game in a sense, where you're fighting with other players? So that's what we mean about this, as well as player interaction. This includes role-playing your characters, getting into the table talk aspect of it. And case in point, about the Wonderland Wars, if you're getting into it with another player, you're that trash talk to each other, you're getting into character in a sense. As well as those memorable moments, those things that make you stand up and go, aha, when you beat someone up.
Exactly. Or when you win, or do something really epic. It doesn't have to be all about murder. You're looking at Wonderland.
Yeah, no one else has you as a podcast partner. So.
That's true. And the last criteria is art and production. This is quite simply broken down into 3 parts: the art, the games and the pieces and components, and the graphic design. Because, as always, him and I are colorblind. If your game isn't colorblind friendly, shame on you. There's no excuse anymore.
And we're going to be talking about it one of these games over here. And finally, when all else fails and we can't come to a consensus, the fan vote over on Board Game Revolution, where we put the poll, is the tiebreaker.
That's right. So, we're having a great discussion right here. Anachrony Infinity Box, yeah. I've been offered to play Anachrony this week, so I might finally get a chance to play it.
I played it. I liked it.
I really want to.
It has a lot of moving parts, though. It's really good, though.
You know,
and as for Kickstarters, let's not mention it around my wife.
Yes.
I'm still waiting on my Stefan Feld stuff, and I'm annoyed by that, because they did all the classic first before they did the... Right. So we probably won't even get our Feld stuff till next year.
Probably not.
But honestly, I haven't got a shipping notice this week. I'm getting it next year.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's fair bet. I mean, all the postal workers and the shipping people, USPS, they deserve a long break after this Christmas. So, like, if you actually, you know what? For any of our podcast listeners, or any of our listeners that are listening live, here's something really cool you could do. And I didn't know this till I was a postman, that people do this. People will actively leave stuff like granola bars or Gatorade bottles or water bottles and stuff in their mailbox for their postal carrier. Like, that's an awesome thing. Every time I saw that, I'm a pretty humble person, so it's not a big deal, but like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, man, like, what kind of person is nice enough to be that thoughtful of someone that they see for like about 5 seconds every day? You know, like, yeah, like, what a simple, nice thing. So if you want to make somebody's day, do that, because they deserve it. That's just what I'm saying.
You ready to get started in this?
Yeah, let's do it. So, we're going to start with our number 1 seed versus our number 8 seed. That's Wonderland War versus Verdant. And we have the Coin of Doom. As always, you have the Cup of Doom.
Oh, yeah. I haven't even made the Cup of Doom.
I know. It has been so long since we've done this.
Yeah,
we forgot that a Cup of Doom was a thing.
Can you have those sticky notes over there?
Sure can. Let's prepare.
Yeah. We're professionals.
Yes, sir. That's right. So, start making your predictions on which one's going to go through, either Verdant or Wonderland War. And as always, what we're going to do is we're going to argue who argues first and which one. We pick those at random, just so that way we can try our best to argue either side, whether our bias are for one game or not. We try to take our bias out of it.
All right, you ready?
Sure am. All right. So I'll be arguing first.
Good, because I can make the rest of the stuff.
And I will be arguing for
Wonderland Wars.
Wonderland Wars. So Wonderland War, it's Alice in Wonderland theme. This is from Elf Creek Games. Am I mistaken on that?
Skybound.
Skybound. Yeah, so Skybound, their productions are always just absolutely stunning. First off, that's my favorite thing about this game, is just like all of their other style of games, like Grim Forest and all those, Druid City, yes. They're the ones who publish this.
I think they work with Skybound.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, Skybound and Druid City are together. But oh my goodness, their production values and their art are absolutely phenomenal. This game is much larger than it needs to be.
Oh God, yes.
It eats the table. It is huge, massive on the table. And you're going around like this, basically just a little rondelle kind of thing, or a little track that loops around. And there will be times where you'll be trying to gain control over the different regions by effectively battling each other. One thing that this does differently than a lot of other games, which I find interesting, is that if two players are battling, they don't make it so it's boring for the other players. You actually have this ability to bet on who you think is going to win, and you can get a little bonus if you're right. However, that's hilarious when everyone votes for one player and then they lose.
Yeah.
And then you feel so victorious. You're like, I am the master. It's absolutely hilarious when that happens. So, Wonderland War, unfortunately, I don't remember too much of playing it other than that. I remember the interaction.
I remember somewhat.
Yes. It definitely has like the immersion, the interaction. I don't feel like it's much to do with Alice in Wonderland, but this is definitely, and this is substantially, one of the crowd's favorites game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was number one ranked for a reason, but it has a massive following.
Yeah. And they just recently did another Kickstarter, I believe, for like an expansion. If I remember correctly, I'm not exactly sure, but that did really well. It's a good game. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't one of my favorite games that we played this year.
No, neither mine.
I was fine with it. The game that it's going up against, I actually preferred over it.
Okay.
And this is Verdant.
Okay.
So Verdant, the reason why is I love Cascadia.
Yes.
I think that's one of the better games that I've played. And for me, this is just the next step, Cascadia. The only problem with it for me is because Cascadia came out first.
Yes.
I like what it's doing. It's another one of these plant games that are out there where you're drafting... you draft either a room or you draft a plant. And you have to do, a 3x5 grid, if I remember correctly?
Yes.
And then you're also taking a token as well that you have to put on the thing, or you can store it, which gives you bonuses. If you have 6 different ones, that's going to give you points. If you have them where they're matching the wall pattern that they need to be in, then you get bonuses on the things that are attached to that room. And I liked a lot of what it was doing there. I prefer Verdant over Wonderland's War. I just don't know if it wins over Wonderland's War.
Yeah.
Just because Verdant's easier to play. That was a given.
Yeah.
Though Wonderland Wars is not that hard.
Right.
That first initial play, or getting those first couple rounds, figuring out what's going on, because you're going around the tea table to get what you're going to do, put your characters out in certain locations, and then... you go around the table, and then you have to, once that's all done, you go into that second round where you go into the wars. And that's what I was talking about when we were talking about Skate Summer, where it's distinctly, there's 2 parts. You have the table part, and then you have the war part in this one. And I wasn't actually fascinated with the war part. I enjoyed the table, going around, putting things out, upgrading, getting special characters and stuff like that. I enjoyed that stuff.
Right.
But the war part of it was just like, okay,
right.
I lost, oh well. Other than the betting. I enjoyed the betting part of it.
It was silly. I wouldn't say it was fun, though.
Yeah, it was fun.
I saw other reviewers saying that it felt shoehorned in, and that's kind of how I felt it as well.
But when it comes down to like replay value, Wonderland's War is going to win there. Meaningful choice might be a little art and production. Wonderland's War winning there, hands down. Meaningful choice. There's really good, meaningful choice in both of those games.
Right.
When you're talking about like the first part of Wonderland's War, when you're trying to go around that table but not going too far because you can get certain things, being the first one at a certain spot, or using your character's abilities too that allow you to go backwards or doing other stuff. That's kind of cool too.
Well, so here's kind of my thought on it, and I'm glad Illuminous brought up Grim Forest, because that was the first game that Druid City and Skybound really like surprised me, because I am not like a fairy tale fan. Like it's okay, it's fine. I like it better than superheroes, right? But then when I played Grim Forest, I was just enamored with it. It was awesome. And then they released Grim Masquerade, and I played that, and I'm like, wow, this is awesome too. And then they came out with Tidal Blades, an oceanic theme, which I love ocean theme, and then from the same company, and I played it, and I was like, oh, wow, that was a letdown.
Yeah.
It was
that
convoluted, right?
Honestly, I didn't care for that one.
That took it from a really big height, dropped it, and then so when our friend said, oh, we're going to play Wonderland's War, I was like, I was really honestly expecting it to be kind of trash. And it was better than I expected, but not by much. Like, I didn't necessarily enjoy my experience.
Tabletop Bellhop says, Wonderland War felt like if you didn't back the Kickstarter, there was no point, and he didn't back it. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
Because that Kickstarter stuff is amazing. And that easy setup looks really nice. But for me, I think Wonderland Wars is...
I think it does move on, because it does make more game immersion. There's very little game immersion in Verdant.
And the big thing about Verdant, too, is I'll play Cascadia over Verdant any day of the week.
Now, Verdant, although has more meaningful choice, and ease of play, I think all the others go to Wonderland's War.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Wonderland War moves on. But for how long? We don't know. Alright. Round number 2, we have Return to Dark Tower versus First Rat. Two very different games. But that'll be nice and interesting to watch. I'll be starting us off again this time. And I'll be arguing for First Rat. Okay. First Rat. Let's talk about this. It looks like a game for children.
It really does.
And even the premise is silly. You are rats who have discovered that the moon is made out of cheese. So by using trash and pieces of comic books and stuff like that, or boxes and bottles and all these things, trash, you are building a rocket ship to go up to the moon to get cheese. What this really is this is simply a moving along a track. You get to choose, you can move up to like 5 spaces, or if you move 2 pieces, you can move up to 3 spaces.
6 spaces for 1 piece, 3 spaces for 2 pieces.
Yeah. But they must end on the same location.
Type of location.
Color of location, yeah. Yep. And you get the resources that are on it. Now, the further up ahead you go, the more of a resource you can get, but if you're able to kind of queue up more rats, then you're able to get more. There's also light bulbs, which will let you multiply rats.
Yeah.
There's one, or multiply the benefit that they get. There's the comic book track, which lets you get extra abilities. And there's contracts at the end, and then of course you get sets as well by whoever gets along the first, or whoever completes different stages of their rocket by turning in the resources. It's a very simple game, functionally.
Simple-ish.
But, well, no, it's simple to play, right?
It is, but you got to remember the fact that there's 3 different things you got to concentrate on.
Yes, but the fact that all you have to do on your turn is move some pieces, and that's it, right? That's really it.
Yeah.
You're moving along, getting the resources you want.
The base of it is you're moving the pieces, but it also depends on where you land. Because then you have a little track down here.
So it has great, meaningful choices. What you're saying? Yes. No, it's brilliant. We finished that and we were like, what did we just play?
Yeah,
this is
our buddy
cool.
brought this one over. This is the thing we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
Is that our friend buys all these games, and we have a thing where we call it "Damn It, Dom." And this is one of those games where it was one of that where it's like, man, now I got to get a copy for myself because it's simple enough. But when you look at it, you think it's a kid's game, and no, I don't want to be playing with as a 5 or 6 year old.
No, it's definitely more complicated than that.
It's a little heavier.
It very much.
I would put it more a light medium weight.
I absolutely
that area.
Light medium, above family gamer.
Above family,
gamer, but light gamer, I guess. But either way, no, I agree with Tabletop Bellhop. Awesome theme. I love the theme. It is hilarious.
It makes me laugh.
I appreciate
it. It's really, really well done.
And Illuminous brought out the fact that this is going to be rats versus a giant evil tower.
And let's get on to that giant evil tower. This is probably one of my favorite games of the year. In fact, it probably would have made my honorable mentions if it wasn't on the top 8 debate,
Right.
because I thoroughly enjoyed this game. I love the expandability on it because you get to choose the monsters, you get to choose the bad guy. I like partially that it's not a, you can kind of make it a campaign game if you wanted to, but it's not a campaign game. You play a scenario. You can make it one versus, or it's like you can make it versus or co-op. I will never play it versus.
No.
Just it's already hard enough as it is.
Yes.
I love the app integration into it. They did a phenomenal job with this game, and it is so well done. Restoration hit it out of the park with this one. Rob Davio and Isaac Childress created such great stories for all these scenarios. Oh man, I don't know. I wouldn't even say more. There's more meaningful choice in First Rat, but I mean, there's a lot of meaningful choice in First Rat. But there's a lot of decisions you have to make it because you got to go into a dungeon. You got to make sure you're doing properly right. You got to make sure. Do I use my bonuses properly here? Especially when you go into the big boss, because you weaken the big boss by using your bonuses on that guy as well for everybody else. The app will tell you when you had enough hits on the big boss if you're going to win. I love the variability, the changes for what each boss does. You can have rivers of fire, or you have marching forests that could help you with the tower, like the battle with the two towers where you have like the ants taking down Isengard. So it's just like it just conjures all that stuff. I really enjoyed what it does. I would say First Rat probably wins ease of play.
It wins ease of play.
Slightly easier.
Yeah.
It is slightly easier. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Luna says it's very streamlined and the app integration is awesome.
Yes.
And that's the thing about it, and that's one thing I haven't mentioned about it. The app integration, by using the Dark Tower as a Bluetooth speaker, you're not getting the ambiance from the app itself. You're getting it from the tower. So when it makes a menacing noise, you're like, oh, God, what's going on?
Exactly.
So it's really well done. But I think the Dark Tower moves on.
I don't disagree. I think it will as well.
I love First Rat, though.
Yeah, ease of play, and I think meaningful choice go to First Rat.
Yeah.
But everything else, replay value, immersion, art and production, that can't not go to Dark Tower. So that's perfect. Let's move on. Return to Dark Tower.
And Tabletop Bellhop was saying he has still 2 copies of Dark Tower, mine from when I was a kid and my wife's from when she was a kid, and they haven't got to try the new one. If you somehow are able to get a copy of the new one and play it, it is phenomenal. Yes. It's really well done.
Absolutely. Right.
Another thing I like about what Restoration did is that if you have a Kindle, you can get the app on there. If you have an iPad or Apple or an Android device, you can get the app on there. Not a lot of places go to the Amazon store.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They wanted to make sure it was open as much as they can. Next round, Endless Winter versus the Guild of Merchant Explorers.
One really pretty game and one ugly as sin game, but very fun.
Yes. I'll be arguing again. First off, this is how it always goes. It's always just half and half, isn't it?
You get Endless Winter.
Endless Winter. Why are you chuckling at this? Do you think you already know what I'm gonna say?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Endless Winter. No, I mean it's a deck placer worker buildment game. Yeah. That made sense. No, it's the worker placement deck building game. One of the 3 that were announced all at the same time. Yep. Roads of Arnak, Dune Imperium, and this one. But this one came out much later.
This was also a Kickstarter, while the other 2 were just released right away.
Exactly. Those were retail. Worker buildment. Yep. Exactly. It's
slightly different than the other 2.
What I like about it, it does some neat things, is that when you pick the spot, there's really just 4 different placement spots.
Yeah.
But then you go down this track and you follow all of the actions on it, and if you're the first one to get that track, you get the bonus action on the bottom. And so you're going to be getting different cards that will let you explore either the land, make developments, get other cards.
Yeah.
I forget, like there's like technologies and stuff that you can kind of unlock like throughout the game. It's cool. The art is lovely. I like the art a lot on it. I think it's the Miko artwork. Yes, Miko does a really great job. Yeah. That art is what drew me in. The production quality, even like the little mammoth, that
Yeah.
It's technically an expansion.
It's
but,
well, you can use it as a mammoth marker, or if you want to play with a mammoth expansion, it comes with this little rule set.
Exactly. You know, the tents that you put out all make sense. The meeples. You're trying to get to a certain area, then you build a tent there in order to get the resources, but other people might be trying to vie for it as well.
Yeah.
One thing about the strategy of the game that I learned far too late into the game when we played it is that you definitely don't want to spread yourself thin across most
you want
of
to
these things.
focus
You want to
in
focus
one or
on
two
one
areas.
area. Yes, and that was a big thing. That's what messed me over, is because I was like, all right, well, I'll try this. Oh, wait, you're going for that? Oh, okay. That's not working clearly. All right, let me try this one. Oh, no, you've already built the deck. Okay. All right, well, I guess I'll be over. Oh, wow, you've done all that.
You know what I've noticed with Endless Winter? Mind you, it's only one time we played it. It leads to a runaway first player.
Yes.
To the point...
It snowballs. No pun intended.
Yeah. Between you and me, we wouldn't even... our points combined wouldn't have beat the first player.
Which was,
And it was still...
You and I aren't bad players, right? Like, we can hold our own in most games.
Yeah.
And the fact that we were playing against our mutual friend, which, he's been known to do that before. Any game that allows a situation where one player could have more than the combined total of the other two players.
And not just more. He still had like 10 or 15 points on
Yes. Yeah, it was significant. He had like another 20% on top of like us combined. It was gross. Like but the problem was, like, the second to last round, you and I were just like, why are we...
Well, yeah, we're done. We're screwed.
Yeah, it's like we don't have the chance.
It probably didn't help that it was like 10 o'clock at night when we started learning this game.
And that's a factor, sure. Like, I'm not going to hold that against it.
Yeah.
Even though I did not enjoy that experience as much as I think I would have, I'm not holding that against it. I still see the qualities in the game. I still see why people like it a lot. But I feel... I enjoy it, yeah. And I don't mean to put down anybody who backed it, because I don't think that is, but I feel like a lot of these bigger Kickstarter games, you're convincing yourself that you like the game before you play it.
Yeah.
And it's like, if this game looks so good that I'm dropping $200 on it, right? That's a lot of money. I'm not saying that's how much it was. I don't remember how much it was.
I don't remember.
Let's say it's a $200 board game, right? And you're like, man, I've committed this far. There's no way you're not going to like it at least a pretty significant. Like, you're not going to be as honest as yourself as if your friend just brought it over and played it.
Honestly, the only reason I went after this game is because I like the other two. I like Dune Imperium and I like Lost Ruins of Arnak. And don't get me wrong, I don't hate this game. I enjoy it a lot. It's one of my favorites that I played this year.
Right.
But, yeah, mind you, I have to argue our ugliest game on our list here.
I mean, but the thing is, the mechanisms are solid. I mean, in Illuminous, I'm glad, I've heard really good things about Kingdom Death Monster. But again, like, it justifies it, but I've seen that so many people. I have a friend of mine who I was playing with games yesterday, and he does, like, some really big backs on Kickstarters. And again, I've always seen that, like, whenever somebody goes that far into the Kickstarter, it's harder for them to have as critical of an eye. Now, granted, part of that's because they've researched it. They're like, okay, I backed it because I think
it's kind of like with me with Final Girl. I mean, I went going in knowing I was going to like the game because I researched it.
Right, exactly. But there's very few Kickstarters that I've backed that I get, and I'm not already a step more enthusiastic about it.
The stuff on Feld is different. We're already fans of Feld games, and one of the reprints is one I want to play is Bruges. So
right, exactly.
But we're going on tangent here, so let's go
to compare. The reason where I was going with this is that I feel like Dune Imperium I think is a better game, but I like Endless Winter better. But Lost Ruins of Arnak is true better in both factors.
In all honesty, Endless Winter is not my favorite.
Worker placement.
No, not even that.
Worker buildment. Placement.
No, not my favorite Paleolithic game. I prefer Paleo over Endless Winter. Yeah, it is. Thank you so much. The Threshers. I have a lot of minor league hats, so.
Yeah, he does. It's embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
But I get to argue Guilds of Merchant Explorer.
Right.
Like I said, the ugliest game on this list.
Don't get me started.
I have one. Yeah, he gets me. I have one big issue with this game, and it hurts me.
Yep.
It's the colors.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I get how they were going. I really get where they were going.
I am a big fan of sepia tone looking stuff. I love maps. I love old school maps. It's so great. But how dare you tell me there are red and green on that map? There is neither.
And not only that,
it is all poop yellow. Poop yellow.
You have grasslands and mountains, and they kind of blend into each other. So you start seeing slight variations. You need a freaking magnifying glass to see the slight variations in the little hexagon.
I have trouble differentiating the blue waves from the red mountains on that game.
Oh my god,
it's dumb.
Other than that.
Yes.
The game is amazing.
Yes.
It is really, really good. Mechanistic wise, you're basically something comes up and you got to put your characters up there, and then you get these cards at the end of each round, which gives you bonuses as you're going, and you can build on them and use them all the way through. And I think the only reason I won when we played it is because of those cards, because I was getting gold for pretty much everything.
Yeah. So, and so to clarify that on for Bellhop, Tabletop Bellhop, I mean, I like the way it looks, right? Like, I would gladly have that board up on a frame. That's not the excuse. But those two, like, yes, they tried to differentiate, you know, like, the colors by, like, having the mountain tops, but there's very little artistic differentiation.
Differences.
And for somebody who is colorblind, like, you and me are slightly different levels of colorblindness. We both really had a problem with it. Like, I'm honestly, if I want to buy the game, but I'm honestly probably going to hit it with a highlighter.
And then the thing about it too is, like, there are certain things that you have to do for you could put one of your buildings out there, and it's like, oh wait, I didn't get all the grasslands, or I didn't get all the mountains for I to put my little post out here. Son of a bitch, why are these not looking the same?
Yeah, exactly. If only they did like a... I know it wouldn't look as good with a high color version.
Yeah, because you're going for that map tone.
But
it's just, it was rough. It was. I enjoyed the game. I love the mechanisms on it. I found it a lot easier to play than Endless Winter. Endless Winter, the big thing about Endless Winter that differentiates it from the other two worker placement deck building games is the fact that it's step by step for you. You do this part, then you do this part, and then you do this part.
Yeah.
Other than that, I honestly... For me personally, I push Guilds of Merchants Explorer.
Yes, I wanted to move on to because other than the one art knock, and granted, we were also taught slightly wrong when we first played it from our friend, which is fine. You know, now that I know how it's played, like I immediately go, okay, that's why this didn't make sense to me. It's because of how you had to connect stuff. Now it makes perfect sense, but now I do want to buy the game, and I'm hoping that they will eventually make, like, even on the back side of the map, have a high contrast version.
Yeah, that would work.
That would be all they need.
So you're in agreement with me? Guilds moving on?
I completely agree. Guild of Merchants Explorers beats out Endless Winter.
And to answer your corrupt Senate, I like that. To answer your question, Lost Ruins of Arnak right now at this moment is my favorite of the three, and that is because of the Leaders expansion. Giving the different player capabilities, put it up there. Now, I haven't played either of the expansions for Dune Imperium yet. We'll see how that goes, but right now, it's the Lost Ruins of Arnak.
And mine, hand down, best deck builder worker placement is Copycat by Freddie McFreeze. But out of those three, it is definitely Lost Ruins of Arnak.
All right.
Copycat's amazing though. Like it's really good.
All right, so this
I can't encourage it enough. It's really good.
This one goes there.
All right, and Dune Imperium, yes.
You wanna?
Yes, that sounds right. And our next one is Planet Unknown versus the Foundation of Rome, and I'll be starting us off again.
Foundations of Rome.
All right, Foundations of Rome. Talk about a big box. Just obscene.
Talk about over budget for what this game is.
Now, here's what I'm honestly hoping. First off, Emerson Matsuuchi. Great designer now. Yeah. I'm starting to really appreciate his stuff. Secondly, I played this game twice. No, I've only played it once, but it's very similar to another designer, another game that I quite like from him, Acquire. It has a lot of the same
Sid Saxon.
Yeah, from Sid Saxon. Has a lot of the same elements from it, and you can tell he kind of took this. I feel like Emerson Matsuuchi
is the new Sid Saxon. You're going there, huh?
Century Spice Road is very similar to Bazaar. from Sid Sackson.
I'll give you that. Yeah,
it's all about that conversion and the efficiency, right? This is all about like building up money by strategic placement, and getting the points along with that. It's a very simple game. Honestly, I think it's overproduced for how simple it is. The pieces are great. I really hope they eventually make a simple retail version that I could realistically buy. That's my only knock against it. Strategy is solid. Now, granted, it's going against a game that I feel like there's slightly less strategy in it, but is really, really fun. So this is going to be a tricky one, but Foundations of Rome, easy to play.
Oh, very easy to play.
Great economics, solid, meaningful choice, great production, like phenomenal production.
It's like bingo auction is really what it is.
Yeah, it has no right being as good as it is for how simple it is. But Emerson Matsuchi, dude, like, bravo.
For how simple this game is, it's ridiculously produced. That's my big thing about it. Is it's so simple. Those minis.
Yes.
It's what, a $200 game,
yes.
$250 game. It plays like it should be a $20 game.
Yes. I honestly feel like it should be. They should make a
retail,
pocket edition, a retail version
without the minis. Like, just give us like polynomials or something.
Right, exactly. And then, oh yes, tabletop bellhop. Yeah, great example. The game Citadels. It's a wooden game where you have these wooden buildings, and it's an abstract strategy game. Okay. It's kind of like Go in a way.
Yeah.
And it has like that's like maybe a $30 game. You put these out on these nice grid, like these nice pieces. That wouldn't be hard to do.
Yeah, no, it's a phenomenal game. It is really, cool. Really good. But it's also going up with a game that just hits on a different level when I played it. And this is Planet Unknown. Mm-hmm. And this one is...
Cathedral, not Citadel.
It is whatchamacallit, not a rondelle, it's a tile-laying game with a Lazy Susan. Yes. It's probably one of the best components I've ever seen in a game. I love that a lot. And it's what I like about it is the choices, because you can either help or screw over the other players at the table. Because what's going to happen is when you have the Lazy Susan out, you have your area piece and you're pointing at the Lazy Susan. So where it's pointing, you can only get from that section when it's pointing at it.
Yep.
But when it's your choice to choose, you get to rotate it however you want and get the pieces that you specifically want. Now, that could screw one of your neighbors over the thing, because you're also scoring based upon who had something better between the neighbors. You also have scoring based upon how you build your planet up. It's really, really fun. You have really cool components, even just the base game without the Kickstarter exclusive stuff, because I have the retail version of it.
Yeah.
I still have great pieces for the game. It's... I don't have like some of the Rover meeples, but I have like the wood stuff and stuff like that. It's phenomenal. I don't have the extra Kickstarter, the one you played, the Flux capacitor or Flux company.
That was really fun.
But you can play a base game. I like the fact that you can also have individual powers. You can play a base planet, or you could have a specific different planet.
Yeah.
Like for my character, when I was playing it originally, I was just running up the water track because it's just going all over the place. Yeah. But my planet, I couldn't put on the land and the water, so I had to choose either it's going to go here or it's going to go here.
Right.
I love the choices in this game. I love how smart it is. I really, really... It's got, like, again, one of my favorite components of all time. That Lazy Susan. More games need to bring in that Lazy Susan, because it's just... It makes things so much easier, and especially when it's like, I'm going to take this one, and your neighbors are one of your... Thanks. I don't like any of these choices. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Great game. I love Planet Unknown. For me, this is really, really tough to decide which one's going to go ahead.
It's not tough for me. I personally like Planet Unknown better, but I think Foundations of Rome gets
it. All right, well, we'll go to the list here.
Yes.
So, ease of play, Foundations of Rome's hand down. Though Planet Unknown is not hard.
Yes. Tabletop Bellhop, I completely agree. I need to buy a Lazy Susan.
Yeah, it would. Luckily enough, we only have like a 4-player group, so it's not that hard for us to reach for stuff. But when it's like on the other side of the table...
Well, I have a circular table, so there's no reason not to put that in the middle.
Yeah. So, ease of play, Foundations of Rome.
Yes, hands down.
Replay value.
I would give that to Planet Unknown.
I think so, too. So, we have 1-1. Meaningful choice will come
Foundations.
back. I was going to say we could come back to that one, because there's a lot of meaningful choices in the other one, too.
Sure.
Game immersion.
Planet Unknown. Yeah, because you feel like you're playing strength.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't feel like you're building this massive metropolis building thing. Like you're putting out polyominoes.
All right, here's my favorite: the art and production, Foundations of Rome.
Yes.
However, that's not saying Planet Unknown is not
It's not
produced
a
well.
slouch.
It's just those freaking buildings and the fact that how you get it out of the box. It's got like all those sleeves and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, it does make you feel like you're building a scale model of the city.
Yeah.
So meaningful choice. So we have a 2-2 tie. Meaningful choice. Foundations.
Because that every move you do directly impacts everyone else and your long-term strategy. Are you going to go for the points? Are you going to go for the money? Or are you going to go for the abilities? Very simple, but it's effective, and it's really.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I think it's a solid game, and that's not to say that Planet Unknown is a slouch, because it's not. There is a lot of meaningful choice in that, but you are beholden to what the other players do to you directly.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, so I'm not arguing that point. I said I'd give it to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that last point.
All right, so you got to save it. We got a whole other thing going around here.
Well, not for Foundations, or not for Planet Unknown anymore, though.
All right, so Verdant had 2% of the vote. First Rat was sitting at 3%. Endless Winter, where are you at? At 12% of the vote. And finally, Planet Unknown at 9% of the vote. Yep. Moving into our Samurai Finals, we have Wonderland Wars versus Guild
of Merchant Explorers.
God, I hate that title still. It has one of the worst
Fair enough.
titles. And our number 2 seed, Dark Tower, facing the 5 seed Foundations of Rome.
And yep, Corrupt Senate. I agree. That'd be cool if we had pictures, but yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not that fancy schmancy.
It's the game. That's right. That's right. Tabletop Battlebot. All right, so let's go into our semifinals now. That'll be Wonderland's War versus the Guild of Merchant Explorers, and you'll be starting us off this round.
And I get Wonderland's War. All right, so I get the easier one to argue about, because Guilds of Merchants Explorer is the more fun game, but it's also the ugliest game.
Yes.
Wonderland Wars, we don't have a problem with the colorblind aspect of it.
Nope.
Because
I don't remember a single problem about it.
They use pink instead of red, and they use a darker green, so they separate the contrast of those.
They change the shades. Thank you.
Wonderland's War, there's a reason, everything we said about it in the first round and made up for it, because it is phenomenal in the production value. They hit it out of the park, but Tabletop Battlehop hit a big thing about it. If you don't have the Kickstarter, are you really worrying about the game itself without the Kickstarter stuff? It's still a solid game, though. But like I was saying at the beginning, the 2-part phases. Does the 2-part phases help it get over Merchants of Explorers? And I think it does, because you have meaningful choices in both those parts. You have to play smartly when you're going to battle with your friends. Mm-hmm. You have to play smartly how you're working on that little rondel, how far you're going to get, what resources you're going to get. Are you going to exchange for those special tokens that are going to come onto the board that help you fight in those battles? So everything you do in that phase is going to affect your choices in the second phase for the wars. And then you also have the thing that determines where you're going to war. This one, and this one are triggering, mm-hmm. kind of like Rising Sun has. And so you are like, okay, this popped off. Hey, and you still can kind of bet on things if you're not in a war. Not great, but not bad.
Right. It's not terrible.
Guilds of Merchants Explorers, for me, just doesn't hit on some of those aspects where it's fun, but I'm not getting the game immersion. I'm not getting that table talk, because it's just, you're sitting there. Right. I'm concentrating too hard on my board to make sure I'm getting the right places.
Sure.
So, off to you.
All right. So I'm going to argue for Guild of Merchant Explorers. I feel like this is actually a pretty easy argument on this. One, it's a bingo mechanism, so hands down, it's already easier to play.
Oh, yeah.
I feel. Now, the replay value, that's interesting, because, yes, it is a multiplayer solitaire for sure.
Especially for people who are colorblind, they're like trying to go as much.
You have to be as close to the board as possible. Actually, it's not a multiplayer solitaire because we have to ask, like, hey guys, so
is this one?
you can see colors. Which one is this?
Is this the mountain or is this grassland? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't tell. Oh my goodness. I think it's part ocean. I'm not sure yet. So dumb. But so art and production, I would give Wonderland's War hands down. There's no even contest about that.
Even not the Kickstarter version's bitter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hands down. But that's not a problem. But the meaningful choice in that, the simplicity of the bingo mechanism gives you a lot of open ability. You could place up to, I think, like 1, 2, or 3 tokens on the different types of land, depending on what type of land it is.
Cubes.
Or cubes, yeah. They're tokens, but they're the same thing, right?
No, cubes.
Okay, cubes. Fine. Cubes. Sorry. But anyway, yeah, you're putting cubes down. But you're building off these paths, and the ability to give players the same choice but different options is already that's a really fine line to do, but it works it really well. Again, I don't disagree with the other reviewers that said the Wonderland Wars battle betting thing, that is absolutely shoehorned in. Because that doesn't make me more immersed in the game. That just makes me more, like, just feel like part of it. I do think that it is more immersive as an overall experience. I just don't think
I'm fine with the betting aspect of it, because when it goes into stuff like that, and if I'm not involved, I'm going to be checked out. Yeah. I'm going to watch a hockey game in the background or whatever. But
when you're playing a game that's about this, you shouldn't have to do that. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying.
But the other parts of the game, it's fine. Replay value, I feel like those upgrade cards that you get every round in Guild of Merchants Explorers, I feel like that really brings out the replay value of it.
Yeah, but does it really change the difference with Wonderland Wars, because you're playing with different creatures too?
Sure, yeah, but the creatures aren't, like, drastically different. I mean, they are, but, like, they're not...
I looked at some of the other ones. They were quite different.
What I like about Merchant Explorers better, and why those upgrades I feel are so impactful, is because when you connect certain parts of your board in the first round, then you no longer want to go towards that area, and each of the areas that they have very different terrain types. Like, one could be a super mountainous one. I was going really heavy into water. I was doing huge water exploration. So when I was given the option for abilities, I would love to go with the water until about halfway in the game. Then I diverged because I'm like, I've explored way too much water already. I need to start getting on land all of a sudden. Like, that I feel adds some really cool choices.
I do have one issue with Merchants Explorer, and I found it...
Only one.
Another issue is, it's the runaway leader. Because I got all the cards that allow me to get gold if I go, or double gold when I go to certain areas. Yeah. Because of all that gold, I was just scoring points after points after points.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
That's the reason why I had first place from the first round all the way to the end. It's because those abilities kept piling up. There is a chance. Now, doesn't mean I'm going to get those all every time I play the game. Right. But it's also making me think, okay, if I have a chance to get more gold, I'm going to go gold route again.
Which do you feel you would give meaningful choice to? I feel like that's going to be the biggest factor. Ease of play and meaningful choice. I think meaningful choice goes to merchants.
I'm just trying to see here. Impacting other player strategies, you have more of an impact on another person's strategy in Wonderland's War.
Absolutely.
Impact on your long-term strategy. But the thing is, here's where I think Wonderland Wars wins it, meaningful choice, is because the arbitrary choices. You have your choices where you're going out there, but it's determined what's coming out.
Yes.
It's that bingo aspect.
Yes.
So if something's coming out that doesn't work for me, then it's screwed. There was part of it where that happened to me.
That's not arbitrary choice, though, because that's not a choice in the game. That's the function of the game and how it relays itself. That's not an arbitrary choice to you. I'm going to have
to show you what you've said on other podcasts, and you're just arguing against yourself.
No, that's saying, like, you're not provided with a choice. You're saying, here's the thing you need to figure out. You're not provided necessarily with a choice of what regions you're doing. Like, how they come out is affecting everybody the same way.
Yes and no. It just depends once they started figuring out what I'm doing. But by the time they figured out how I was compounding all that gold, they were too built up on the other sides of the maps.
Right, but that was also the only time we've played it. Yeah. Now, knowing that, yes, that is absolutely something that we could have prevented.
Yeah, but it also is the luck of the draw of the cards, because those were I had 2 cards to choose from. I got the gold ones.
Yeah, but I mean, that it still doesn't. I still don't think, even with those slight variances, I still don't think that this is less meaningful. That yes, there's affecting other players, hands down Wonderland more. But I don't feel like any of that is an arbitrary choice. You always have options, and whether you choose ones that will potentially work for you better later on, or ones that you're choosing to work with now and seeing how that works out, that you know the risk and reward.
We're not going to budge on either one of this. So,
okay.
Ease of play, we're saying
Guild. Yes.
Replay value, I say Wonderland Wars.
I don't. I don't know. It doesn't
They
scale.
already have,
it doesn't scale at all.
Well, they also have an expansion.
Sure, but it doesn't scale at all.
It
takes forever.
Minimum number of... Yeah, that one's merchants, but minimum number of plays and expandability, that's where it wins there.
I feel like it's a 50-50 because it's not that variable every time.
Yeah, it is. You pick and choose what creatures go in.
I don't know. I don't know. Let's come back to it.
All right, Game Immersion, Wonderland Wars. Art and Production, Wonderland Wars.
Okay.
You're saying meaningful choice. I'm not giving you that. You don't want to give replay value. That's still 2-1.
Okay, cool. Then Wonderland Wars moves on. Fair enough for me. I still like Guilds better.
Oh, I like Guilds better. Don't get me wrong.
All right, Wonderland War. Next one is Return to Dark Tower versus Foundations of Rome. Two very different games.
Though production value is pretty much the same. I still would give production over to Dark Tower just because the work that they had to do for that tower in that app.
Yeah, but it's in the way now. But the tower is in the way of the other players.
That's a good thing.
You're going to be starting us off on the next one, right?
Foundations of Rome.
It prevents AP, that's right.
No, it prevents tabletop quarterbacking because what's going on with it? Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just sit down. You can't look through my tower.
All right, so I get to argue Foundations of Rome. So let's say that it is one of the easier games to play on this list. In fact, I think it's easier to play than Guilds of Merchants of Explorers.
I want to bring up his point because this is actually a good point. Tabletop Bellhop brought up that you may need to add weight to these rankings for fun. For fun, playing is worth more than say production value. We have debated that before.
We've talked about it. That's why we have the game immersion category.
Right.
That goes into like the memorable moments aspect of stuff.
Yeah, because when all said and done, meaningful choice, ease of play, and game immersion are all based on the gameplay itself.
Yeah.
And art and production is more of just production value.
Production value. So, and a big part of it, we do the art and production is because we'll knock games if they're not colorblind friendly.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, he's right. It should, being as good, matter as that. But yeah, it's a fine line that we can.
Yeah, but also fun is subjective. He likes what is not the hidden betrayer, the
any social deduction.
That one,
right?
Yeah, you like social deduction. I can't stand it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true because that affects the gameplay for you.
I'm not going to have fun playing a game of One Night Ultimate Werewolf, whereas you will.
But whereas, for example, though, however, that's also tricky. That production aside, some of the heavier, harder to play games like Marco Polo, that's not going to hit the table anywhere near as much as, say, Happy Salmon, but I would still say it's a better game.
And that's why we have, the replay value aspect of it, because we have the time and scaling there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, this goes for... Yeah, I mean, well, the point of why we do that, I don't disagree, but we're trying to take our bias out of it.
Yeah, that's the big thing is that's why we have these criteria. We don't want our bias. So if I like a game more, and we both agree on it, but what is statistically better game on our point scales?
Right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, thank you for the feedback. Tabletop Bellhop. Yeah, it's always an ever growing thing. So
Foundations of Rome, like I was saying, is one of the easiest games to play. It is by far simple enough where it's it's an auction. Hey, I'm going to spend coins on this, or I get money, or there's 3 things you can do: auction, try to buy something, get coins, or build on your city. It's that simple. But the choices in this one is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I don't know about the replay value because the 2 games I played are fairly the same game. So I don't know if I get that replay value. I played twice. That's all I can say is that, and it pretty much felt the same way. Mind you, I didn't get the same buildings out, or I didn't do the same stuff that I did.
But
functionally, it just felt the same. But honestly, what Tabletop was saying about it was a fun game. Now I don't think it moves on past Dark Tower though. Unfortunately, I really do like Foundations of Rome a lot, but Dark Tower does a lot of things well.
Yes, absolutely. So, is that over to me already?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're kind of conceding already?
I'm kind of conceding on this one.
As much because, it gets ease of play and maybe meaningful choice too.
Mm-hmm.
But art and production, yes, of course, Dark Tower. That's a given, right?
The game immersion.
The game immersion, the production of the app alone.
Yeah.
All of that's great. The replay value, the game immersion, all of those, yes. It is slightly more beholden to random than Foundations of Rome, but that doesn't mean that overall it's a worse game.
It's a worse game, yeah.
Just because that's what that fun factor is in there, is that everything else that this does ramps it up to 11. Return to Dark Tower sets such a high standard now for board games.
It really does. It's
ridiculous. Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like app integrated board games, like Mansions of Madness Second Edition. That's a great game. I love the app integration in that game. But what it did, it was like the grandfather, and then Return to Dark Tower took that ball and ran with it.
Yeah, it did. They pulled all the stops. I mean, that tower alone has Bluetooth. It has infrared sensors. It has app integration. It has LEDs, servo motors. It has speakers on it. It has ways to detect where the skulls are. It has movable parts.
Yeah, my favorite thing about Return to Dark Tower, and I'll say this, is like the movable parts, is when it has those lights and they light up, and you're like, please don't be me, please don't be me, please.
Yeah, and then a pile of skulls just dumps right on you. It's hilarious. Like that's that game immersive. That's that memorable moment where you see that. That is the only time I've ever seen tokens fall out of a machine, like a slot machine, and everyone hates every second of it. It's hilarious.
And yes, great until they stop supporting the app. But I mean, this is going to be like one of their evergreens.
Now, I feel like it will. Like from the sales that I've seen so far at just our store, which I mean, we're a pretty small town, 100,000. You know, it's not too big.
It's not a cheap game, and yet you keep selling out on it.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Sure, it could have that app integration. You know, but now I'm less worried about unsupported apps. And I'll tell you why. I used to play this game on the computer called Stepmania.
Oh, by the way, we're in agreement. Return to Dark Tower moves on.
Probably. I have a reason for this. No, my tangent being is that I was talking to a friend of mine who used to play Stepmania with me, and it's like a DDR clone for the computer.
Yeah.
And he was telling me how he just bought a new pad. This was like 2 nights ago. I was like, wait, is Stepmania even a thing anymore? He's like, yes, absolutely. And he sent me a link. He was like, yeah, they still support it. They still do this. And so, like, even though like the original people don't support
that's him. He has the like. Do you ever see the Disney movie?
My reasoning.
It's Squirrel.
No, my reasoning being is that if there is enough fan base on it, it will never not be supported. It might not be supported by restoration. There might not be more content being created by them, but it will never not be functional ever. They will always find a way to adapt it to whatever technology because of how much bigger this is. This is hands down, maybe with the exception of probably Mansions of Madness or something like that, this is probably the biggest app integrated board game that I've seen, like one of the most popular.
Popular, yes, I'll give you that because he mentioned Golem Arcana and World of Yo-Ho.
Right, yeah, but those didn't even come close to selling like
what Return to Dark Tower is. Here's the big thing about it is, I bought Return to Dark Tower, just the base game and one of the expansions. I didn't buy the mini expansion. I actually went to the store after I played it to buy the minis expansion for the store because I wanted to make it prettier. But the fact that was the last one for there, and the fact the first time you demoed it, you sold out.
Yes.
It tells you the game is well loved, even for this small area.
We're on our, I think, second restock.
Yeah, so it is a phenomenal game.
Yes.
It sells in stores, even for that price, because once you bust out that tower and show it to people, they're just like...
Right.
Okay.
Now, there is a valid argument. What about 1,000 years from now, right? Like, if it somehow lasts that long...
Yeah.
Which, I mean, let's be real, nothing will. But if it did,
Yeah.
right, you could take a board game like Foundations of Rome and you could play it still. There's not a guarantee you could play that. But this is 2022 and we're talking about best games of this year.
Yeah.
And for my money, Return to Dark Tower was just fantastic.
So you're in agreement Dark Tower's moving on?
I do agree. Return to Dark Tower moves on.
5 minutes later, I finally get the answer out of him. All right, we have a final. Wonderland Wars versus Dark Tower. I think this is like the second year in a row it's Kickstarter versus Kickstarter.
That's right. Read the rule book and then press that take my money button. That's right. Yeah. Yes, this year it works, plus how many board games are people still playing 5 years after they come out of March? That's a good point.
That's a good point.
Solid point.
That's a solid point.
I wonder what our conversation is going to be when we hit our 8-year anniversary
when we do
for
the
this,
Champions
right?
of Champions.
When we do the Champions of Champions, will
Okay,
that even
5
be
years
effective?
ago. What was 5 years ago? 20...
What year did Mansions of Madness come out? It wasn't that. It's not that new.
Probably
but
like 2017 or something like that.
That's 5 years.
Stairs at Rising Sun. Yeah, I haven't played mine in a while.
Yes.
Still can't get him to play it.
I have been wanting to play it. Play it tomorrow. I just don't have driven. I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, it just depends on the
That's fair.
company too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Fuse is still app integrated, and people are still using it. I still play Fuse,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Exactly.
it's still supported.
Right. And it's a trade your copy of Rising Sun. That's fair. Is Rising Sun app integrated at all or no?
Oh no, we're just talking about Rising Sun.
Yeah. I still have not played. Still have not played Rising
Yeah,
Sun.
Fuse just got a new update, but I'm saying the app is still supported. Fuse has been around for a while.
Right.
Most of the unlocked games are still supported too.
Yeah.
So,
it also depends on the company. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anything
it's-
Lucky Duck is probably going to be around for a while.
yeah, it's just the
Like,
company now. Like
Renegade
if
probably.
Lucky Duck ever goes out, then maybe. But I
Yeah.
don't see Restoration going anywhere for a while.
Yeah, probably not for a while, but we'll see.
We'll see.
I mean, we don't know. They're also not a big heavy hitter like the big guy.
I don't know. Dark Tower was a heavy hitter for them. That
It was a
scored
heavy
lot.
hitter for them, but that doesn't mean they're a big company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, these are all worth talking for sure.
Actually, I saw that coming.
Yeah, there's been some problems. with them,
After the what is it? The Belfour Kickstarter. I saw that coming.
Yeah, it was all right, but minimum 3 players. Group doesn't care for this. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving into
That's why I
our
haven't played. That's why I haven't played Return or Rising Sun yet. All right, so now our finals. Wonderland's War versus Return to Dark Tower. In this finals, we don't take a side. We argue it base by base, and we see if there's those 5 different categories. So right now, Corrupt Senate, Tabletop Bellhop, Illuminous, and anybody else who's in the chat listening right now, voice your opinions on those. Again, our 5 criteria are ease of play, replay value, meaningful choice, game immersion, and art and production. And again, it's Wonderland's War versus Return to Dark Tower. We will break those down here in just a quick moment. Were there some new comments in our Facebook poll?
No, I'm just going to read off. Guild of Merchants on our poll had 3% of the vote.
Yeah.
And Foundations of Rome was 6% of the vote.
6%. Yep. Very cool.
All right, let's move on to the finals. Is there anyone that's jumping out at you?
Well, Tabletop Bellhop put in a good point. Between those two, Wonderland's War is what he would buy because you could
Still play
guarantee
the
that.
two.
Yeah.
All right,
that's
so which one's easier?
FFG can die, sure. That's a good point. Which one is easier between the two? Most certainly, I think Return to Dark Tower is.
I think just because of the nature of co-op.
Yeah, from
but-
the nature of co-op, but also just because, I mean, let's say Wonderland's War is that complicated, but I remember
The 2 phases is also...
the 2 phases is jarring, whereas on your turn, you do some good things and you do some bad things. Like that's a very fundamental idea of that one. If you had to pick one to play tomorrow, Return to Dark Tower. Yep, I don't blame you.
Let's do art and production.
Art and production.
Which has the better pieces and components?
Return to Dark Tower. Hands down.
Hands down.
Yes.
Graphic design.
Yep.
And I agree.
Graphic design.
I like the art better in that one, but that's also subjective. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, you could. I like the art better in Wonderland.
I like the art in Wonderland Wars because it fits the Alice in Wonderland theme aspect.
That cover though is iconic.
Yeah,
the giant goblin head, that is what it looks like.
Well, isn't it supposed to be the Cheshire Cat?
Yes, but it looks like a goblin head. Yeah. But I know it. It's burned in my mind right now. So the art is definitely better on theirs. Yeah, Return to Dark Tower is just generic fantasy. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
But the pieces and components, that tower alone, oh my goodness, that holds it up.
All right, so any other ones that jump out at you?
Replay value comes out to me, and that's because of the scenario base. You could play a bunch of different scenarios. You have DLC that you have the ability to play. Even the expansions have those. It has more expansions for Return to Dark Tower already.
It's going to be a clean sweep.
It might be.
Yeah, because replay value I see as Return to Dark Tower as well. Yes. In game immersion, I get more into that than I did Wonderland War.
100%. Yeah, I mean, the player interaction, there's a little bit, but we were actively, having fun. It's like, all right, guys, it's like, well, Daniel's about to go into the dungeon. Let's, we gotta help him out.
Or that time you were like, hey, are you guys going to help me with these skulls over here? But no, there's River of Fire. I'm not going to lose.
It's like, no, you're on your own. You're blocked off with that fire. Nah, sorry, dude. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it.
And the memorable moments. I mean, Return to Dark Tower has those skull dumpings, right?
Yeah, the skull dumpings, or just like when you're like, oh god, don't put the sill on me. Don't move the sill this way.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because the seal is a bad thing. So, yeah, it's a clean sweep.
Wow, that almost never happens.
Yeah, 5-5, Return to Dark Tower.
All right.
The winner.
Tell us if you agree, guys. Let us know. Art is absolutely subjective. Some art is absolutely subjective.
You should see some of the games he brings.
Yep. I do like darker fantasy over cartoons. I can see that. Yeah. Seems fair. Cool. So, then that means that Return to Dark Tower is our winner this time.
Wow.
Is that the first time that's won?
Might be.
It won the restorations debate, didn't it?
No, I don't think it was at when we did the restoration debate.
Yeah.
Or if we have done one. I have to check the library or the Bible. So the votes here, Return to Dark Tower actually only had 7% of the vote. Wonderland's War, the loved game, at 19%. Yep.
I'm honestly, and maybe this is my bias against it, because I remember I did not like Wonderland's War all that much. But
I enjoyed it for what it is.
I'm surprised it got this far.
I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah,
honestly, it was fun.
Okay.
But again, the big knock for me with what Tabletop Bellhop says is that if you weren't on the Kickstarter, there's no point in getting it. But it's also the money thing.
Yeah, and so now we're gonna have to see, like 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Bringing up those solid points, we're gonna have to see it. Of course, if it's still supported, if it's supported as much, right?
And then we can close this.
If it still holds out his own. So. Definitely, yeah, this is a great... Oh.
Sure.
Yeah. We want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you ever want to join us in one of our live discussions, we love crowd interaction from our viewers. Come check us out at twitch.tv. We tend to film mostly on Tuesdays, and around this time, mid-evening.
It was easier for us, earlier for us than usual. Usually it's around 7 Mountain Standard Time.
Yep.
Just because you're off right now.
You're on a break. Right. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, it's been a while.
Check us out at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
As well as you can find all video re-uploads on YouTube at Everyday Board Games 2020. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on that platform. Subscribe if you're not, like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject. As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, and Podbean.
If you ever want to join us or email us, contact us directly, you can email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. This way you can email us on future ideas for future topics, or just want to reach out and say hi, or even enter in future contests. That is your ability to do so.
As well as you can also get in contact us on our official Twitter account at EBG Podcast. Now, haven't been as active lately on that one because Twitter's on fire right now. But you could get in contact us there too.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.